Welcome to Blank Park Zoo's Hope for the Wild. My name is Chris Eccles. I'm the Chief Engagement Officer here at the zoo. I'm excited you are joining us for our journey to discover, connect, and take action for crane conservation. Did you know there are over 15 species in the crane family, Gruidae? These unique birds are known for their long neck and legs and streamlined body and long rounded wings. From their powerful claws to their intricate dances, cranes have enchanted people for centuries. During this program, you will have the opportunity to discover how the International Crane Foundation, the Iowa DNR, and Iowa's Polk County Conservation work to save cranes in the wild. You will also have the opportunity to connect with our resident cranes. Zoo staff will provide a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to care for SARS cranes, Stanley blue cranes, and African gray crown cranes. Blank Park Zoo is proud to live our mission to inspire an appreciation of the natural world through conservation, education, research, and recreation. As a member of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, we work collectively to save animals in the wild from extinction. We hope you enjoy the program and feel inspired to discover, connect, and take action for the wild.
So there are 15 species of cranes in the world. We have 3 of them here at the Blank Park Zoo. We have blue cranes, or also called Stanley cranes. We have Saurus cranes, which are the tallest crane species in the world. And we also have African gray crown cranes. The smallest crane species in the world is the demoiselle crane, which is in Asia. Asia has the largest variety of cranes, with 8 species of cranes in Asia, followed by Africa. Cranes are found on almost every continent except for Antarctica and South America. Cranes are tall birds with long necks and long legs. When you see them flying, you can tell them apart from a heron. Herons fly with their neck tucked in versus cranes fly with their neck extended. Most cranes you find in wetland areas. Wetlands are very important. Every species of crane either roosts or nests in wetland areas, except for the 2 species of crown cranes. Every species of crane except for 2 actually has red on them. Blue cranes have no red, and demoiselle cranes have no red. Everybody else, red skin or red feathers. North America has 2 species of cranes. We have the sandhill crane and we have the whooping crane, which is actually one of the rarest species of cranes in the world.
These are our African crown cranes. We have Tanga in the front here and Bert in the back. At the zoo, we give them a complete diet of pellets that gives them all the nutrition they could possibly need, along with chopped produce and bugs. Cranes spend about 75% of their time foraging for insects and other food, so we try to give them substrates to help mimic that behavior. A couple unique things about the crown crane, one of them being their fancy head feathers, which is why they're called crown cranes. These are actually made up of individual feathers that are in a corkscrew shape. Crown cranes also have a prehensile back toe that helps them perch at night. Crown cranes are the only type of cranes that actually roost. These guys were selected as a species survival program pair, so they were recommended to breed. We have had 1 successful chick from them. Her name was Nika. Since they didn't know quite how to take care of their young just yet, we got to hand rear her, and she is actually at another facility now being a companion for another crown crane. Bert and Tanga can be found off exhibit since they are our breeding pair, but we also do have another single male, Woody, who can be found in the giraffe exhibit.
Welcome to the International Crane Foundation. We are located here in Baraboo, Wisconsin, just outside of the Wisconsin Dells. We are the only place in the world where you can see all 15 species of cranes at one location. We're a nonprofit organization that was founded in 1973 and is dedicated to the study and preservation of cranes on the landscape in all the different places where they're found. We also focus on partnering with the people that share those landscapes with cranes to ensure the future of both cranes and their habitats for generations to come. So here on our site, you can see all 15 species of cranes in one location, but we are much more than that. Our cranes here are ambassadors for their species worldwide, and we also do a lot of other work, including prairie and oak savanna habitat restoration, so you can enjoy our nature trails when you come and visit us here. Our keeper staff is also very busy with chick rearing, particularly for our whooping crane reintroduction program. So when you come to visit our site here in Wisconsin, we are open 6 months out of the year to the public, May through October. You are welcome to do self-guided and view the cranes of the world on your own time, or you can join along to many of our public tours that focus on our different projects worldwide and help connect our guests to the cranes and the places where they're found in the wild. Now I'd like to introduce you to some of our resident cranes here on our site. This first pair that we're starting with is our blue crane pair. This is Keto and Periwinkle. They've been a part of our flock for about 10 years, and they are representatives for their wild counterparts. The work that we do with this species is focusing on making safe habitats for these blue cranes. So that includes power line monitoring, sometimes adding flight diverters to those power lines, and also partnering with the people that share the landscape with the cranes, particularly farmers, as blue cranes can sometimes utilize agricultural habitats, and we want to maintain a positive relationship with those people and have blue cranes as a positive symbol on their landscape. So next up we have our gray-crowned crane representative, Sprightly. The work that we do with the endangered gray-crowned crane focuses on protecting the habitats where they're found and partnering with the local people that share that landscape, particularly providing alternative livelihoods for the people in that region, as well as alternative safe water resources that help to decrease the amount of disturbance gray-crowned cranes face in the wetlands that they utilize, particularly during the breeding season. The work that we do with blue cranes and gray-crowned cranes is a direct partnership with the Endangered Wildlife Trust, as well as several other government and non-governmental agencies. And this here is our Saurus crane pair, Yuva and Minu. With the Saurus crane, we are working to build a partnership between universities and scientists all throughout Southeast Asia to create a network of people who are dedicated to the conservation of Saurus cranes on the landscape. Along with decades of monitoring, restoration, and working with local people. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you at our Cranes of the World experience here in Baraboo, Wisconsin.
These are our blue cranes, Lulu and Larry. They are also known as Stanley cranes, and they are the national bird of South Africa, which is where they're from. They're found pretty much only in the country of South Africa. They mainly live in grasslands and occasionally in like farmers' fields.
All throughout the day, they are out in the grass looking for bugs, hanging out, doing most of their life in the grass, but they still come back to wetlands at night to roost and stay safe.
Most cranes are either brown, gray, or white. These guys are more of a gray color. Most cranes also have some red on them. Blue cranes are one of the only two species that don't have any red on their faces. They're pretty much all gray. They also have some really long feathers that kind of stick out. You can see them there behind me. Most people think those are tail feathers, but they're actually part of their wings. So when they spread their wings out, it's the feathers that are right inside by their bodies.
These guys are really big dancers. They have a breeding display where they will dance around with their wings out and their beak open, and they'll actually throw sticks up into the air, and it's really amazing to see. Our pair here does dance for each other, and it's really cool to see.
These birds can be found in the Okapi Diker exhibit, which is located right by the rhinos. It's a pretty big yard, and they're usually out there somewhere with the Okapi and the Diker.
These are our two Saurus cranes, George and Lily. You can tell them apart. George is a little bit bigger than Lily, and he tends to have darker feathers around his neck, call it his beard. Cranes in general are very tall birds, but the Saurus crane is actually the tallest crane. In fact, they're the tallest flying bird of all. You can find them in the wild in Southeast Asia and into Australia.
Saurus cranes are considered a liaison between the afterlife and people in Vietnam and other cultures in Asia. Saurus cranes build great big nests, and they will usually lay 2 eggs, and both the male and the female will care for the eggs and the chick. They are actually one of the few species of cranes to breed in agricultural areas, so they are often seen around people, even though they're so large and so intimidating.
George and Lily love to play with the camel's hay, as they're doing right now. We also sometimes will use hay to simulate natural foraging. So we'll throw down some hay and we'll mix in their food or some bugs and other things for them to look through the hay for. You can find them at the very front of the zoo in the big enclosure with the Bactrian camels.
Want to learn more about our Saving the Wild conservation priorities? Check out Blank Park Zoo's Discover, Connect, and Take Action at Home Activity Guides. Each guide will give you the opportunity to discover more about the animals in our care, connect with our conservation partners, and take action for the natural world around you. Go to Blank Park Zoo's website to learn more today.
So my name is Taylor. I work with the Waterfowl Program in the research section of the Iowa DNR. We've been working on sandhill crane research for 2 years now. We had our first transmitters going out in 2020. We had 4, and now this year we've put, 11 out? 10 out, 10 transmitters out, so now we'll have 14 birds marked total, and so this is part of a larger project to help us understand habitat use and movement of sandhill cranes in Iowa. Start learn more about what type of habitats they prefer and where they can be found in the state.
And right now what we're doing is we're deploying a leg band on the upper tarsus of this called sandhill crane. Each band has an individual number, so if this bird were to ever unfortunately die or get harvested by a hunter in another state, they would call this number in and we'd have the information on where this bird was raised. This is just kind of half of what we're doing. We're deploying transmitters as well, which give us up-to-the-minute locations on where the birds are at all times.
Yep, so any sandhill crane sightings that people have, we're certainly interested in as we try to learn more about sandhill cranes in Iowa. So right now what we've been doing this year is catching quilts. They're at a flightless stage right now where they're easiest to catch, and that's our most efficient way to put out transmitters. So we're learning a lot about this as we go through the process. And so this is a colt that was born just a few months ago.
And what we're doing right now is I've officially put the band on the bird and it's ready to be released. The bag protects us from the bird and controls the bird so we don't harm it in the process, as well as it not harming us. We also take a weight while we have it, and this bird's, if Taylor wants to help, is officially ready to be removed. So, hey buddy.
They're strong birds.
Yep. And what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and turn this bird loose. That way he can go back to his parents.
Yep, they're just on the other side of the
Enrichment is an important part of what we do here at the zoo. It helps us elicit natural behaviors in the animals. So in the wild, cranes spend a lot of their time foraging for food. These guys get a lot of foraging enrichment, so we give them their food like in things like hay and straw and other substrates to help them like forage naturally and keep them busy. Right now they are foraging for some insects behind me. We've just scattered a bunch of stuff everywhere for them. They also get enrichment that is not related to their diet, but keeps them mentally stimulated in other ways. So they also get things like nature sounds that we play for them. They get some other sensory enrichment like shiny items and things like that to look at. We also try to stimulate their natural environments. One of the ways that we do that is by giving them, when they're inside like this, giving them some rain. We make it mist down on them, and then we like to try to tie that into what the consequences of that would be in the wild. So if we make it rain and mist, we'd like to give them things like wet dirt and then worms in there, which would be something that they would find in their natural habitat.
Along with enrichment, one of the other ways that we keep our cranes mentally stimulated is through training. Training is something that we are beginning to implement with our cranes very recently here at the zoo. It's really cool because it allows us to build better and stronger relationships with our specific animals, help build that trust between us and the bird. Having our cranes participate in training programs also allows them to voluntarily participate in their own health and husbandry. For example, we often train birds to step up onto scales, or for our cranes specifically, stepping up onto mirror boxes so that we can get good looks at the bottoms of their feet without stressing them out unnecessarily.
Here at Blank Park Zoo, we are starting to develop our training program for our cranes, and there is a lot that goes into it. You have to find out what sort of thing motivates them, because they're not going to do these behaviors for nothing. So an important step is a food trial. I train Woody, one of our male crown cranes, and for his food trial I tested out a bunch of his favorite foods to see what he preferred, and overwhelmingly it was bugs, of course. We test it out over a few days to see any sort of consistency, to see what they prefer and what they will train with. From there, you start relationship building with your animal. For Woody, when he eats bugs, I reward him with his bridge, which is a clicker. That forms an association in his head that when I hear that clicker, I get to eat a bug. And there's nothing more that he loves than eating bugs. Relationship building is the most important part of training. Sure, it's great to have them do all these behaviors, but that doesn't mean anything if your animal doesn't trust you. Once that relationship is established, then you can move on to your behavioral goals. For me in particular, I am trying to get Woody to station or stand on a mat for a prolonged period of time. This will help with medical procedures because getting him to stand in one place at one time will help us get a better look at him and potentially be able to touch him without him freaking out or getting stressed out with us. To build this behavior, we have to start with very small approximations. So at the stage that I'm at right now, if he even approaches the mat, he gets a reward. In the future, he will have to do more than that. He will have to step on it, and then once he steps on it, he will have to stay on it. But in the beginning, training is about little goals that are manageable that will lead to a bigger success.
Did you find this program interesting? Do you want to learn more about Blank Park Zoo's Hope for the Wild? Check out the zoo's YouTube page. All of our past programs are available to view today.
So the mission of Polk County Conservation officially is threefold. So it is outdoor recreation, environmental education, and natural resource restoration. And I think sandhill cranes probably hit all of those things because we have a lot of people that enjoy coming out here to Chichaqua to see the cranes. I see a lot of people out walking and they ask about them and want to know about them. Obviously we can program through our environmental education programs, tailor programs to sandhill cranes and their biology and whatnot. And then Of course, yeah, what we're trying to do in the NR division is to make sure that our habitat is suitable for the sandhill cranes to thrive and for their population to grow. Sandhill cranes are a species that just need big areas. They need landscape scale conservation to really thrive and do well. And we are at about 10,000 acres now, so large area. But what we typically do when we get a new piece of land is we try and restore that back to what was historically here. So I think that lends itself well to attracting cranes, because typically what was here historically was a prairie wetland complex, and we're going back to that. And I think that habitat, by going back to that habitat, it's setting the table for the cranes to come back as they were historically. And we've seen that happen. So our first crane sighting here was in 2006, which coincidentally was my first year here. And we saw our first immature crane in 2007. So we knew they were, if not breeding here, then close by. And since that time, we commissioned a study with Drake University in 2008 to look for crane nesting here, and found one nest at that time. And then started working with the International Crane Foundation on their crane count. I believe that was 2012 or 2014. And we had two people doing the crane count at that time. So I don't recall how many we found that first year. Not a lot, but a number of them. And it's grown steadily since then. Yeah, I think in the future we'll just continue to do what we've done. We'll continue to be active in the crane count, and that I think has been very successful on a number of fronts. It's showing that what we're doing is successful, but it also gives volunteers a great opportunity to come out and learn about cranes, learn about Chautauqua, have a fun morning. So that's been a good thing, I think, on a lot of levels, but we'll continue to be involved in that. And you know, we do, when we find crane nest sites or areas where we know the colts are using, we try and obviously direct people away from those areas. We kind of know where the nest sites are now. We avoid them. We try and make sure that the cranes have undisturbed areas and habitats to raise their young and be successful. One of the biggest things that people can do to help wildlife in Iowa is just to become educated. Here we try really hard to address those invasive species issues and other issues. So I think just becoming educated on what plants are supposed to be here, I think that's the biggest thing that people can do if they have land, is make sure it's in good shape. Because if your land is in good shape, the wildlife will come. That's what's happened here with the cranes and some other species as well. So I think it's just being educated, knowing what is supposed to be here, what's supposed to be on the land, what was here historically, and you'll have good results if you're a land manager, a landowner that wants to make a difference and invite wildlife to your land. So.
Thank you for joining us for Hope for the Wild Cranes. Understanding the world around us and finding ways to work together is the first step to saving animals and habitats in the wild. We hope you feel inspired to take action for cranes. Thank you to our conservation partners, the International Crane Foundation, Iowa DNR, and Polk County Conservation. It takes all of us working together to make a difference and have hope for the wild.